Welcome back to the channel. Now, I told you they're trying to pull the wool over the people's eyes as the people attention is being diverted to other things like geopolitical tensions and the job market, things like that, which no doubt about it, definitely is significant. There's something that they're burying. Now, if you remember about a year ago to a year and a half ago, and I believe it was in the members only section, but the members get the best stuff. That's all I can say. We went over a list of banks that were problematic, that were at risk, that could collapse. They were having severe problems, folks. I'm about to show you right here, right now, the game that's being played. I was trying to explain this before, but now I'm going to show you hardcore evidence. And look all of this up for yourself. You can search everything that I'm going to say. And if you like that type of content, take those powerful hands, close them, and boom, boom, at some point in this video, let that finger explode on the like button. But wait, look at this. The FDIC's problem bank list. Now listen to this, because it'll lull you to sleep. But this is what I'm trying to tell you. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation maintains a confidential, quote unquote, problem bank list. Banks on this list have a Camel's composite rating. Once you start introducing those ratings levels, I automatically start questioning you. I know you're like, Mick, what other way you can do it? What other way could they do it? I could explain that, but that would be a completely different video and it would be very long. But for me, once I see that and you're saying here, a composite rating of a 4 or 5, indicating significant financial. Now I know that you're dividing stuff because 3 is significant as well. 2 is significant also. This is why these banks shouldn't even make these lists at all. Do the customers know the banks are on this list? Do the customers know these banks are having these problems? No, they don't. So how are they going to react if something occurs? You think it's not going to be bank runs? Most of these problems will have to do with liquidity shortages of some kind. And you can have a liquidity shortage based on a lot of different variables, from quantitative tightening. They're pulling that fake liquidity out of there. Liquidity. Where do they get the liquidity from to solve these problems? Because they haven't gotten it yet. We're going to go over that as well. You get it from things like XRP, where you can generate liquidity. You don't have to do it through on-demand liquidity. I don't know why people think that. Look this up. Type into Google search or your favorite AI, how can banks use liquidity with XRP without or separate from on-demand liquidity, and let it blow your mind. And then that's another thing you're going to start to understand, is that in the future, and mark this video, right? Because I'm telling you here now, in the future, there could be the high possibility of an XRP war, which would drive that price through the roof. I'm very serious. I'm very serious about what I'm saying, folks. Listen, before we go back to, I'm going to circle back around to this. Keep this in mind. Let me say this first and get this off while I'm thinking it, so I don't forget. Folks, you have liquidity tokens like XRP. It's not the only one, but it's at the forefront that can generate massive amounts of liquidity that will save their backsides. The banks have a big problem coming up. You're about to find out why. Now, would you, as a bank who has been, doing what they want to do, to the point where they even have been taken to court multiple times by the SEC for violating certain rules, they didn't even care. They've just been doing whatever they want to do. Absolute freedom for the banks. Just feasting away. Would you want to leave that comfort and then have to bend the knee to a company like Ripple? Or would you, like they've done before, take a shot at trying to do it on your own? They can use XRP outright without Ripple. Now, for us XRP enthusiasts, whether they use Ripple's on-demand liquidity or they have their own system, which could be a direct system. Let's just put out there the most efficient system would be them using a direct system where they have, get this, what do they call it? XRP reserves. That's all they need. Each bank has an XRP reserve. Do we not see companies right now trying to build XRP reserves? You think that's just to make money off of XRP outright? Or is it to make massive amounts of money off of XRP outright, as well as use the utility of it directly between companies? Taking a shot at cutting Ripple out. You don't think that they know that? You don't think they want to go at it on their own so they can continue to feast and call their own shots? No semblance of an intermediary. I'm not saying Ripple's an intermediary, but that's how they're going to look at them. You don't think that they're thinking that? So I just gave you something else to think about. Okay? Look all of that up. Now let's go back to here. Well, I'm going to expose a lot in this video here. So now, the banks on this list have a Camel's composite rating of 4 or 5, indicating significant financial or operational weaknesses that pose a threat to their safety and soundness. That's very deceptive, but this is where we're getting to the part I want you to hear now. Latest data in Q1 2025, according to FDIC's quarterly banking profile. For Q1 2025, the number of banks on their, quote, problem list, unquote, decreased by a net of 3. Oh, man. To 63 banks. Oh. Well, first of all, let's just establish that 5 banks messed up everybody's half of a year back in 2023. So 63 banks definitely significant. But a lot of lay people, regular people, they hear 63. They don't remember those bank runs. They don't remember accounts being frozen. They don't remember that. People are a what have you done for me lately type. They have that type of mentality. Whatever just recently happened, that's what they remember the most. So to them, 63 is like, oh, that's not that much. We have thousands of banks. It's 63. That's nothing. Right. Very deceptive. Now, that's a lowball number even for number 4 and 5 rated banks. Now watch this. That's the FDIC. So they're incentivized to make it look like there's not too many problems. Remember, they have to provide funds. When only 3, 4, 5 of those banks went down, what happened? The FDIC ran out of money. So now, if you're thinking in the context of XRP, you have, of course, it can provide liquidity. They can sell XRP anytime they want. Also, you can just run something through that liquidity. Just like they do fiat currency. They can run something through that liquidity. But when it comes to bank runs, you could liquidate that XRP and use that liquidity to fill the gap so that you don't have to freeze accounts and close down ATMs, etc. It is possible, but before that time, they would run that price to the moon for their purposes. It would serve their purposes. That makes sense? I'm trying to say a lot. I won't be able to get every thought out as clearly as I want to, but I'm hoping you understand. But wait, so 63 is significant, but most people would just say, that's nothing, Nick. That's really. So that's FDIC, who is incentivized to make you think everything's good. Not only you, but the banks. Everything's okay. So they don't have to pay out. They ran out of money. You think not? Go back and research 2023, the bank runs. FDIC ran out of money. They didn't have enough money. Then they had to establish an emergency fund where they were pulling value from a multitude of different governmental sources to help those banks that were about to collapse stay afloat. And those banks just kept borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. Know what they're doing now? And we're going to get to this. Know what they're doing now? Bottom line is they need the liquidity. But let me complete this thought. What they're doing now is because of, let's say, one aspect that puts them at risk, commercial real estate loans. What have they been doing, folks? Has that problem gone away? No, it hasn't. They've been just extending and extending and extending the deadlines into oblivion so they don't have to, so they don't default. That's what they've been doing. Tell me I'm wrong. Right? All right. So now look, Weiss ratings, I believe. Now look at this. Bear with me one moment. Okay. So Weiss ratings. This is an independent rating agency. No incentive, just one of many globally. Right now, we're just taking a look at U.S. banks. We really should look at the global scene, but let's start with the U.S. I want to just show you, because I know a lot of people that view the video, not all, but a lot, are from the U.S. This will make an impact. This is an independent rating agency. Weiss Ratings agency is an agency that assesses the financial strength of banks. They use their own proprietary methodology. So this is even up to June 2025. This information is very, very relevant. Okay, and is current. Weiss Ratings has expressed concerns about a larger number of banks. You don't say. Now contrast what you're about to hear with what the FDIC wants you to believe. And you'll see the wool is being pulled over everyone's eyes. There's a problem, like I've been telling you. I don't just talk off the top of my head. Now I must provide more evidence. I provided this many times before, but it's gotten worse. And we have a lot of new people here. Now you're going to see. And this is why they need XRP and any other liquidity token and DLT overall. And after these banks go down, whenever they go down, if they stop being allowed to fabricate an environment that looks healthy, but it's not healthy. It's all fake, for lack of a better word. If that ever occurs, then the prices of those native tokens goes through the roof. Simple as that. And they're going to gobble them up, in my humble opinion. You don't have to agree. I'm not here to make you agree. This is not financial advice. This is research. Here, a report. Wait. Weiss Ratings has expressed concerns about a larger number of banks. A report from PR Newswire citing Weiss, so they went to Weiss and got the data, indicated 649 banks. Currently, these are only the ones that are getting a Weiss rating of D+. D+. See, so there's much more. So how many is it when you add the C rating to the D? The B rating to the C and D. And then when you read what's going on and you understand contagion, not just contagion between banks, but contagion between variables in the bank. One thing affects another. Makes sense? You got a bunch of dominoes here. One falls, the other one, and it hits another one, and it hits another one. That's contagion. So when they use the word contagion, you hear Christine Lagarde use the word contagion. It has a can I say multidimensional? There's a multidimensional aspect to it where it hits different meanings. And she's always saying that phrase. 649 banks currently get a Weiss rating of D+. Weiss states this represents, quote, an unacceptable high probability of future financial difficulties. And so bank failures, bank runs, bank failures, contagion. I mean, interpret it how you please, but I think you will derive at the same point. This system is about to be replaced. This system is having massive problems. This is why you have all these companies now. They have a Solana reserve. They have an XRP reserve. They're getting forced into DLT technology. They're getting forced on the platforms where it unites them together, which flows perfectly with DLT, and they're getting forced onto those platforms like ISO 20022 in the same year that DLT is being unleashed. You think that's a coincidence? No, it's not. The golden age is almost here. Also, once again, watch out for the time periods where they're going to start putting out misinformation and forcing people out of Bitcoin, out of altcoins, etc. And yet, when you look yourself, you'll see all the powerful catalysts remain. You'll scratch your head and say, wait a minute, why are these media saying all these negative things? And yet all the positive catalysts remain. That's when you know they're playing the game. Yes, all the positive catalysts remain. They want the people out because at some point, just like you see with Bitcoin, we just read the article where they literally told the people companies are taking over. You can witness that. You can see that, observe that yourself. That time is going to come for the bank coins, for the altcoins. And once again, you don't have to agree with me. You'll make your own decisions. These are my thoughts. I only speak for me. And I can respect if you have a different opinion than mine. That's perfectly fine. But wait a minute. 649 is a much, much higher number than 63. Somebody's lying. Why are they lying? Why are they lying? Give me all the reasons. Why are they lying? Something major is coming. It's been building over the years. The problem was they've been allowed to build false liquidity, and they've been able to extend. When you read about them extending those loans and they just keep doing it, it's only because the regulators are allowing it. Literally, that's how they phrase it. The regulators are allowing it. Why? Why? Right. Come on. Well, you know the truth. So it says this contrasts sharply with the unofficial regulatory view where only 27 banks were deemed undercapitalized by banking regulators. 27. So the FDIC says 63. Come on now. That's ridiculous, especially in comparison to 649. And then the regulators try to take it even lower. They say, 27. Somebody is lying, folks. There is a deception going on here. This is important if you're in the money game. to know to protect value. Like, once again, not financial advice, but I like to protect my value, and also to know to observe what's going on in the markets, observe what's going on in the financial industry that affects the markets, and understand banking systems where they have that certain verbiage in their writing, where if anything happens, they don't have to. Right now, they changed it. They don't have to necessarily rely on FDIC, insurance and all that. They can just seize your account right now. They changed that. Remember that? I forgot what they call it, but they can just take that money in that account. Which banks are doing that? Do people know? Right? But let's go here. Wait. I want to show you this here. You thought it was over. No, it's not. I'm telling you, this is good. And this is why they're rushing. They don't know when it all will begin, because it's just a great big bubble that they're sitting on. Pop at any moment. Maybe it goes on for a longer period of time. I consider both. Maybe it pops immediately. Maybe it goes on for a time longer. Either way, that bubble is there. It's risky. Right? Look at this. Commercial real estate exposure concerns. So this is coming from Florida Atlantic University analyst. All right. Amongst others. But they're the main ones here. More than 60 of the largest banks in the country are at increased risk of failure due to CRE exposure. Specifically, 67 banks had CRE exposure greater than 300% of their total equity. That's it? That's the ones with 300%? That's interesting to me. Wait a minute. That's the largest banks. You asked yourself the same question, didn't you? Don't worry, we're going to answer it. What about amongst all banks? Wait, among banks of any size. See how that little differentiation, that's how they play the game. In news media, in the article, in the big time article writers, they're just going to highlight that one little bit. Even though, once again, 67 is a lot. But according to the experts, among banks of any size, 1,871 had a total commercial real estate exposure greater than 300%. They get even more specific. 1,112 with exposures greater than 400%. 551 banks with an exposure greater than 500%. 243 banks with exposure greater than 600%. This is just in the U.S. alone. Why do you think they're protecting themselves with gold? There is a problem, folks. Oh, we put in some work today. Oh, yeah, we're cooking today. Those strong hands should have been closed a long time ago. Those fingers that you've been exercising, you've been drinking water, you're feeling good. Boom. Your keyboard should quiver as you press the like button. In my humble opinion. Folks, they're protecting themselves with gold at record numbers. High value individuals and banks. This is just a little bit. This is the tip of the iceberg stuff here. They need the liquidity of an XRP. They need smart contracts. They need AI. They need XLM. They need Algorand. They need Solana. That's why they're gobbling this stuff up. They're looking at it. They're eyeballing it. They're trying it out behind the scenes. They're making partnerships at record rates. So many new NDAs. You're hearing all types of things in the media, but behind the scenes, we're hearing a ton of stuff. You just can't talk about it because you can't verify. We can't verify what is said behind the scenes, but tons of NDAs right now being reported. And that makes sense in my humble opinion. Swift is getting pressure. These banks are under pressure. They need the DLT aspect of the speed, which only the native tokens provide. They need the bridge currencies because they don't have global reach anymore. They need the liquidity. There is a liquidity problem and they're stuck in a bubble. That false liquidity where the government takes certain actions and pumps stuff into the economy to make it look a certain way, but that liquidity wasn't actually generated by the work of the people. That's fake. That's not real. It cannot go on forever. But all the stuff they do quantitatively is all false. It's all false. And when you see them try to do, they remove liquidity, they're trying to do it real slow and gentle. Take a look at what they're actually doing at those moments. Why did all the big money individuals put cash on the side? Why did that happen? First, they were very smart. They put a lot of cash on the side, huge cash pile on the side, left the banks. Then the other value they have, they protected it with gold. Why is that? Right. So when there comes a liquidity problem, where do they get liquidity from? Real value. You think they're not looking at RWA? They know that. They know that. They want that. They want that liquidity. They want that value flowing across the chain that they can access. They want to be in control of it. How do you do that? How do you control DLT? Well, there's a variety of ways. One of them is clearly holding a massive amount of it. You know that because you hear people complain about Ripple, what Ripple has as far as XRP, and they're the ones who made it. So the people have proven it that holding a large amount of these things is a measure of control. And once again, look into how they can use XRP without on-demand liquidity and still benefit from XRP. They can do that. They've played with the technology. You think they don't know how to clone the technology either? Either way, it doesn't make a difference. As long as they use XRP, that price goes up. There cannot be two XRP prices. David Schwartz, let that be known. Now, let's squeeze in a little bit of Bitcoin news here today. Appreciate you being here. I definitely do. Today was a fun day of research, even though I have so much information here. I thought this video would be like an hour, but I'm trying my absolute best to keep it maybe 25 minutes or so. I'm doing my absolute best, folks, because there was much more. I didn't even get to the second and third document. So maybe we'll come back. If this video gets a lot of likes, then we'll come back and we'll visit that other information. It gets deeper. I know. But this is great news for those like you and I who are in the know. Great news. Powerful information to have. So this article is titled New Bitcoin Improvement Proposal Aims to Solve Future Quantum Security Risks. They were never going to I don't think Bitcoin is at risk. I don't. I knew that people were planning for this long ago. Why would they not? There's too much money in Bitcoin for someone somewhere. They don't have to be vocal about it, or some company. They don't have to be vocal about it, but they're going to prepare. No one wants to lose money. This is a moneymaker. You protect the moneymaker. It says the BIP outlines a phased shift to post-quantum cryptography, warning users, quote, fail to upgrade and you will certainly lose access to your funds, unquote. It says, today, a new Bitcoin improvement proposal was introduced, outlining a clear plan to migrate Bitcoin to post-quantum cryptography, with consequences for wallets, miners, exchanges, and holders who fail to upgrade. Why would anyone not want to upgrade? Protect Bitcoin at all costs, and I think it's going to make a lot of value. I'll say long into the future, but I do see gaps there. Because I feel, and I've said this before, I feel that the companies that are taking over are going to use a rinse and repeat process with Bitcoin. They will run that price up and then they will plummet it. They will bring it down, folks. They will plan behind the scenes. They will do things that others get frowned upon doing. They will do it and no one will frown. They won't even know. They'll plummet that price, people get back in, and then they'll run it up again, then they'll sell on people. Be careful of it. I mean, look, once again, not financial advice. I'm just saying, you do what you want to do. But I will be careful once high percentage of companies are all into Bitcoin, then really start asking some questions, in my humble opinion. It says the proposal introduces a phased plan to eliminate reliance on current ECDSA Schnorr signatures, which may be vulnerable to future quantum computer attacks that could break private keys to steal Bitcoin. The plan turns quantum security into a hard incentive. Quote, fail to upgrade and you will certainly lose your access to funds, unquote. Quote, we seek to secure the value of the UTXO set and minimize incentives for quantum attacks, unquote, the proposal stated. Another quote, never before has Bitcoin faced an existential threat to its cryptographic primitives. A successful quantum attack on Bitcoin would result in a significant economic disruption and damage across the entire ecosystem, which is why I don't believe they're going to allow it. No way. There's a bunch of companies working on this right now. They're going to come out with something absolutely amazing because they plan to make a ton of value off of Bitcoin. And I don't believe that anything like this, that companies are, you have giant company like BlackRock involved. Do you really believe they're going to let anything get in the way of that value they're going to make? That's not going. If you know BlackRock, that's not going to happen. I don't mean to say it like an absolutist. I don't mean it that way, but I mean that I believe they're taking action that will be firm, that will be sound. That's what I'm saying. All right. It continues on here. It says, beyond its impact on price, the ability, I don't know what that was like. That came from when I was little, we would, instead of we would do like a drum sound. Like, you ever heard that? Right. Anybody do that? Just in case somebody, what the heck was that, Mick? What was that? That's what it was. It's like a filler sound. Anyway, the ability of miners to provide network security may be significantly impacted, unquote. Okay, listen, I expect them to solve this. Bitcoin has a lot more legs to run, in my humble opinion, not without volatility. It's not like it's just going to continuously go up. We've seen consolidation. We've seen various dips, and some would say severe correction. I don't believe they were severe, in my humble opinion. But then again, we've been through a lot over these years. So what's severe to us what's not severe to us may be severe to others, but we've been through a lot of things in this crazy crypto market. But Bitcoin around 117,000, 120,000 is nothing. Just my humble opinion. You don't have to agree. That's nothing. That's nothing. These companies are not here for that. They're going to run. They're going to. I'm trying to say going to instead of gonna. I'm so used to it's gonna. It feels good to say gonna. Just does. It's going to go much higher, in my humble opinion. But then again, I'm not a psychic, folks. But now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.